name is Suresh. For most part of my life, I've been in consulting business. I do advisory work for board constitution, leadership hiring, organization structuring, compensation, stock plans, all that. That's my core consulting offerings. Right. That's and lately that's my day job. My evening job is investment management. So we run a family office in Bangalore, through which we have done a slew of investments in private equity space as well as in debt and public market space. So two hats: consulting and investment management. Otherwise, engineer initially as a manufacturing, then industrial engineering, consulting, and then graduated into executive hiring and consulting in organization and all of those things. So part of several booms that India has seen, almost every boom, we have also been working with clients to help them do the expansion, hire the right talent, and get the early traction. So we've been so the technology changes have impacted the user industry, which is the industrial plants and financial companies and say pharmaceutical companies and services companies who use technology for functioning their own processes and their own customer reach out. It has impacted them first. And of course, the technology product and process and solution developers themselves, like Google's and Amazon's, so they also have gotten impacted. So the sweeping technologies have impacted both the origin companies as well as the user companies alike. So first of all, that's the common observation. Secondly, the word disruption, which comes in almost every report and every presentation, has taken roots even in the most well-established companies who thought they are invincible. Google search, for instance, we all know last 20 years, no one of us can live any single day without accessing Google search. Even that company will be threatened if the chat GPT systems comes into picture. Like for instance, when we ask Google, give us a list of restaurants nearby, so the Google throws up and a list pops up. In chat GPT, you can ask that, and chat GPT will say in the morning times, this Anupama, you like, I know, the South Indian breakfast. Why don't you go here? And I've tracked you by lunchtime. You like chole bhature. Why don't you go here? And why don't you go there? So the intellectual AI piece is going to be captured in search engines, and even Google will get threatened one day. So the threatened part, the disruption part, is going to affect all parts of functioning of any business or any product, any solution company. There's no reprieve on that. How the companies have adopted, how the companies have hired new talent to stay at least one notch higher than the competition, that is what the world is going to see from now on. White-collar talent, they are the ones who are responsible for meeting the objectives set forth by the shareholders, and as well as they have to be complying to the expectations of other stakeholders, which includes the partners in the business, which includes employees, which includes the community, the environment, the government, the global landscape in which they work. Every part of the 360-degree space, impact space, the white-collar executives and the chief executive, they are responsible for functioning and driving the businesses in this sphere. So the opportunities exist for people who can understand that the purpose of driving any business is not just you need purpose of making profits or making revenue, but to make sure all stakeholders are satisfied. Number one, the change now is on environmental impact. All these days, we thought the carbon footprint and hence the temperature rise, the global warming piece was just theoretical and it was not affecting individual businesses. But now individual businesses are maintaining scorecards, are maintaining carbon footprint. They call it primary, secondary, tertiary. Even if their own products are responsible, their vendor products are responsible, and their market, the customer, what is their carbon footprint? So carbon footprint is a score. You go to any company in India now, there is a carbon footprint score, right? And you need to work for that. So white collar executives have to move in these directions. One is to satisfy the multiple stakeholders. Two, big focus on environmental technologies. You cannot run a business, even if you may be farming business, you're growing onions and potatoes, even there is a carbon footprint. And then there is a processing companies which have carbon footprint. So all white collar executives, particularly the engineering and operational executives, have to be conscious of whether they are producing net carbon emissions and spoiling the environment. So they need to keep a score, they need to rein in that carbon footprint. So there are a lot of opportunities in the environment tech, a lot of opportunities in overall community impact areas. India as an export base is absolutely frenetically getting developed. The number of companies which are now exporting engineering components, chemical entities, chemistry and advanced chemistry and even bulk chemistry, technology, of course, software services are exported out of India. Then even petroleum products are exported out of India. So the export piece, probably fueled by the China Plus strategy, which global companies are following, and Indian government schemes like PLI schemes are encouraging. So till the other day, we all noticed that Chinese companies were dumping their mobile phones in India. But today, India is exporting $1 billion worth of phones every month. Every month, Apple makes phones, Samsung makes phones in India, and they're exporting out of India. So the export as a major line of activity will need talent. So the white collar talent, I think, will cluster around these islands of opportunities. As I said, stakeholder management, environmental technologies, manufacturing, exports, and even in the technology sense, the traditional software companies are now increasingly integrated with telecom companies or integrated with hardware companies like robotics and like automation companies and developing solutions which are not just software, but it's hardware software. So there is hardware software and of course AI ML, hardware software, AI ML. AML is training the hardware software system with pre-trained data sets, and it's not just software to run a business process. It's not software to build intelligence to that hardware, which in turn runs the business process. So all of these technology changes also needs white collar talent to reorient. So there is the latest estimate is that only 1.7 to 2 million people required only in AI and ML systems in India at the moment. So there is a definite shortage of talent in India in the area of the broader AI ML technologies, which includes data curation, and writing algorithms. Then there's something called prompt engineering. There's a lot of new things have developed. All of these needs the engineers in India. I think there is absolute movement of white collar jobs towards some of these emerging areas. Now, having said that, the traditional talent clusters like staples like consumer products, banking and financial services, and software as it existed as a services in place, all of them continue at a base level requiring white collar talent. So I think India is in a very good place when it comes to talent meeting opportunities. I don't see the scenario which is happening in the US or some parts of the world where there is a mass retrenchment and degrowth. I don't think that is having any adverse impact on Indian talent marketplace. So the traditional protocol or rule which corporates worldwide and hence in India also followed was seniority. That you can never replace gray hair with some young adrenaline. So that used to be the paradigm most companies followed, right? So there was in fact a joke in British companies that if there is a retirement of a managing director or a president, the vacancy is for the management trainee and not for the managing director because everybody moves up one notch. So you fill the channel like that. So that was, I think, even as late as 2010 decade or 2015 timeframe, we always thought that the seniority would have an upper hand because of the strength of experience and having once bitten, twice shy. So you know what it is, and then you can bring in that failure or success experience onto the job. So, but now with technology ruling the business rather than just technology supporting the business. Today, consumer business is absolutely technology driven. You cannot run a consumer business in a typical brick and mortar way. You have to have an e-commerce channel. You need to have a supply chain integration. You need to have operations completely on automated mode. So the instead of tech a tool, now tech at the center of the business has replaced the paradigm that seniority is the only criteria. So the ability of the leader to think on how technology can be a short weaponry to enhance the business proposition, that is what is required as leader, which I think by some deduction logic, the younger people will have a better edge. So the traditional wisdom of gray hair managing the corner room is getting replaced by younger talent who can think about what tech can do to work, what to workplace, and what tech can do to product development and tech doing business process automation. These are three dimensions. The workflow has to be automated. The manufacturing operations have to be automated. And then the customer reach out and the product display has to be automated. So this can't be done by a very traditional typecast leader. As long as the typecast leader can change and ask the right questions, why not? And sometimes not being from tech will help because the person is asking the right questions and making tech work all across in many domains. So that we've seen that. So if you do that, next 5-10 years, India will have what is called as smart factories. Then India will also have speed factories. India will also have integrated design and manufacturing shops. India will also have exceptional high quality exportable products made in India, even labeled in India, but marketed in Europe and marketed in the developed world. So that will be the time when India will be even competing not only with China in the manufacturing sense, but competing with the product intellectual property which US and Europe own, that India can also develop intellectual property. So that, I think the makings of that phase of dominance of Indian product strength is beginning to happen. You'll be surprised. A lot of, at least I can name 10 or 12 Indian companies which have no collaboration with any global major, which has developed products in India, designed, developed, manufactured products in India, branded as their own brands, and selling in US as their own brand, and not small-time low-tech product. These are engineered products, like Thermax, for instance, like Asian Paints, or the LG compressor or Kirloskar pneumatic systems. These are all Indian brands and selling outside India, including in the US, as their own brands, not as white label for others. So the coming of age of these kind of companies and technologies are fast taking shape. For this, the young talent will be required. So my sweeping statement will be young talent, global talent, young talent, digital talent, young talent, which can make technology the center of all business. I think that will be how the leadership selections will change. rather than just the resume-based selection. See, consulting firms always should be front runners, torch bearers, fountainheads, thought leaders, and be at least 2 steps ahead in thinking. The business clients, they action, but thinking ahead. Most of the times consulting firms get it right. Sometimes consulting firms may not get that strategic thinking right, and then they may ill-advise their clients. But today, consulting companies are able to muster all the thought process across their global offices sometimes or global research, and they are able to influence the client decision in a very marked manner. So obviously, consulting firms should get the best talent, and they should get the best talent not just in terms of strategic thinking, but in terms of helping their customers, their clients to action their thinking. So first of all, the consulting firms are mostly changing the models that their own fees and revenue are linked to actual profits realized by clients, and they're getting a revenue share or profit share. So they're getting performance linked, their own consulting fees. So obviously they're doing a much better job in their advice, not just lying as theoretical advice in a piece of PowerPoint presentation, but the actionable advice. So their consulting firms have changed, all of them. I mean, I'm not making the big 3 or big 4 as being exclusively better than the others. So all of the firms have understood that. Now, for making that kind of advice work, you need the best talent. So consulting firms are now differentiating the talent they're hiring into 2 parts, like how tech companies did. There is one whole bank of people that consulting firms are building, which are all the analytics team. If you see McKinsey, if you see the other big firms, they have knowledge centers, and coincidentally, and not so surprisingly in India, they employ thousands of people. If I'm not mistaken, 10,000 people who are in the knowledge and analytics space, and they even develop products in analytics. Can you imagine a product like a shrink wrap software product for marketing consumer, for marketing solutions to consumer clients? Those products, the analytical tools, are being developed by big 4 consulting firms or strategy firms, and those talent are the ones they're agnostic to the client that they are servicing. They are generic tools, so they're developing a bank of the tools. And as I said, many of those activities have been done in India. Then there are client engagement talent. So the analytic tools, those are the people that consulting firms are hiring through campuses, through the best of the campuses, and making them go through that process of indoctrinating them in this space of analytics, and restoring and preserving and reserving them for very, very high-end thinking based on the data that is coming out of the global internet, maybe, or global researchers and global conferences and what have you. That's one part. The second part is the actual consulting team who go and get engaged with the clients globally, right? So there again, consulting firms today are looking at either growing the talent from within, and people become more mature to handle customer engagements, and also hiring from the industry. It's like, you scratch my back and I scratch your back, right? You come from the industry, some of the best of the product guys and the marketing chaps, they're hiring after a certain time, which was not the case before. Now the industry, lateral induction from the industry, and then so you get into the shoes of a consultant. There is a process, because once you're in consulting, you're selling. Once you're in the industry, you're not selling, you're on the buy side. So you're consulting is the sell side. So the sell side change is a change of religion. You need to get converted in a religion sense from a buy side to a sell side. So so the kind of conversion has to work. Luckily, the political terminology of UC, what is that? Anti-conversion law will not apply here. This is a conversion of a professional nature, not a religion in spirit. So you get converted, and then you offer services to the other clients. Which is another way consulting firms are building the talent. So consulting firms today have become the holy grail, or kind of gospel truth, or you can say mecca of rolling out great advice. I'm really thinking consulting firms will have an absolute great, for fan following also. Actually, fan following also from the big campuses. All the big campuses will if you see the preferences of students at the campuses of the Ivy League, many people want to start their career with consulting firms and not industry. So consulting firms are in a very good place. See, first of all, 5G will take root like how internet took root and changed the way we are consuming our resources and our own mind share goes into understanding global news through internet. The 5G will be another step up like that, particularly for businesses. Because the amount of smart devices which will get connected from a typical home can be 100, I believe. A typical US home, for instance, can have 100 devices which are at home, like smart refrigerator and a smart, kitchen appliance. The cradle in which the child is sleeping can be connected, and the mother in the workplace can know when the cradle, connected cradle has a crying baby or not, or it's a wet cradle or not. So she can control from wherever. So like that, the doorbell is smart. The paper pouch is smart. So everything can be smart. 100 devices. If you imagine that much of automation from home, if you can take a typical manufacturing plant, 100,000 devices can be connected to smart. So that kind of bandwidth will be provided by 5G. So a worker at the workstation will be replaced by a foreman or a supervisor or an engineer in a control room who's controlling about 100 machines in a console. You don't have to go near the machine. All of that are smartly connected. So all of these will be enabled by industrial Internet of Things and better bandwidth by 5G and a better ability to have zero latent time or minimal latent time that things can be online. So the 5G and IIoT together will revolutionize Indian manufacturing industry for sure. So the whole of these, material handling and production and dispatch and logistics of the transport connected to all the trucks, all say equipment working in the field, a diesel engine or a power plant, all will be smartly connected, and you can at the top of your palm know what is happening in terms of condition or functioning of all of these machines. So we need talent which will make these industrial solutions work. There's a lot of companies from Japan. Japan holds the leadership in workflow automation. And Germans, the Japanese and the German companies are we're working with a number of such, at least a couple of such companies to identify robotics and solutions and which includes say drones, which includes walking robot in a factory and educational robots, and that kind of a talent to design those products, the hardware, the semiconductor, the software, and the applications. That kind of talent we are looking for. So there'll be a number of such changes which will happen in the manufacturing area where there's remote control of all the smart equipment which can be enabled by industrial Internet of Things. Some of the companies like Bosch and Siemens and Cummins and all of these great companies are looking at India to support them in their global deployment of IIoT. So there'll be plenty of action in that area. It's going to be, as they in jargon say, immersive. So it's not just that you're working on a computer screen. You're actually getting immersed, sitting in control rooms on what exactly is happening into the products that you're making or into a process that is being developed. In the consumer sense, they say 2026 World Cup FIFA, which 4 years from now. Today you were watching a streaming of the World Cup, and we were all happy. Next 4 years, World Cup can be watched immersively, which means that you can choose to be in the shoes of a Messi or a Neymar or Rikali-san or whoever you are following, you can walk as though you are kicking the ball. You're watching your running and kicking the ball. So it'll be so immersive in the consumer sense. Similarly, in the industrial unit, you can sitting in the central room, you can immersively feel what that product which you made and sold is functioning in a far remote field that you sold that product for. So digital twinning. So the ultimate expected of IoT and 5G is that every executive, no matter what that executive does, whether it is a design executive or marketing executive or purchase executive, will have a digital twin of himself or herself, a co-partner to himself digitally. So whatever I need to think today, my digital counterpart is thinking. And when I open up my computer system in the evening, the fellows already told me, look, why don't you do this kind of a marketing pitch to your client tomorrow? The fellow is already thinking. So all of us, you and me, will have a digital partner with 5G and IoT comes into the picture, who will be working on our behalf. So who will be thinking about what all a man like me can do. I don't have to think. I only will have to depend on my digital twin. So it's all, it looks like a science fiction or some crazy story, but I think, like every boom, it seems like India is in a great place with 1,000. There's an announcement that 1,000 cities and towns in India will go live in the next 12 months in 5G, which is a fantastic thing to happen. So, great stories.